Your recording is started, and I will now mute everyone.
Go. And then. So.
And you are back on.
Okay, fine. All right, we are on the bottom of Tes Zayin Amud Beis. We were discussing the 18 cases where Beis Shammai was geyser, different decrees, and Beis Hillel, those were agreed to it. And so we left off. We had the 9 from the first case. Then we added a 10th one. The 10th one was discussing a case of leaving a kli out by the rainwater. So now we have the next one. So 2 lines from the bottom. V'idach mahi. What is the next one? So tonight we learn in the Mishna. Kol hamataltalin mevinas atuma ba'oive hamardeya. Any metaltalin, any movable object, can bring the tuma with the thickness, with the width of a mardeya. Now a mardeya is the basically a mardeya is some sort of round object. Sort of imagine like a long handle from that of like a hoe or a rake. And it says the thickness of the mardeya. Now the mardeya is only a 1 tefach circumference around. Now normally by ohel we have the halacha that a thing cannot be an ohel unless it's a tefach. So if you have a mace and then you have something above it, so whatever's above it, if it's an ohel, right, there's tuma anywhere underneath the ohel, even the areas not where the mace are. Basically the tuma goes, underneath where the mace is, and it can be also underneath anywhere that partition or whatever that roof is over. Now that has to be at least a tefach thick. But it says over here, the Mishna says that even something has a thickness of only this pole. Now these poles over here, these mardeya, were basically a tefach in circumference around the entire rake. So we know that pi to go the circumference is basically pi times the diameter. So therefore, right, we have the diameter is basically a third of a tefach. So if it's a tefach around, so therefore basically the width is only a third. It says over here, the Mishnah says that any metaltalin, if it's round, right, like that of a mardeya, so therefore it only has to be, doesn't have to be a tefach, only has to be a third of a tefach. And Amar Rabbi Tarfon, says Rabbi Tarfon, he says, right, he's basically, woe is to me for hearing such Torah, right? Then I should bury my children. In other words, he's basically, if this was accurate, he's not necessarily cursing his children, but he's saying, if this is accurate, then, I should curse my children. I should bury my children because this is not true, because whoever heard this halacha was mistaken. This is not, the accuracy, according to Rabbi Tarfon, was not accurate, and therefore this is not true. Why? He's going to explain. So what's the case there? Because we're talking about a case of, let's say, a farmer was walking and he had this pole on his shoulder. And one part of it was over a kever, a grave, right, a mace. Timu oiso, mishum kelim hamalim ala mace. So they said that he is tameh for the kelim being mal ala mace. In other words, he is tameh for the fact that he is under this ohel because he was holding part of it, and the other part of it was over a mace. So therefore, we say that he was tameh. He's he's an avatuma through tumas ohel. And Omar Rabbi Akiva, and says Rabbi Akiva, ani asake. He says, no, I will fix it. I will make this make sense. Why? In other words, the Chachamim will be Mekayim. Why? That all movable objects can go ahead and mevias tuma. On a person who's carrying it. In other words, if someone is carrying it, the oive hamardeya. Now, even if that has only the thickness of 1/3, it's not the fact that it's an ohel. Right? It's not the fact that it's an ohel and therefore the ohel is under it. That's inaccurate, right? That wasn't true, right? Rather, what it is that something, if a person is carrying something, right, an object in itself, and that thing, right, goes over, and that thing is an ohel, even though that item does nevertheless won't go ahead and spread tuma, the one who carries it is also an avatuma.
Is it because the guy is moving?
No, because he's holding that which is, no, it's not.
I understand, but he's in motion. So Is this what Rabbi Akiva is saying, that because he's in motion?
No, nothing to do with motion, right? So it's a movable object, right? It's a movable object, right? But it's rounded. You call right? And the person who's carrying it, as long as it has a width of a mardea. But not because of the fact that it's an ohel. It's because of the fact that he's in contact with it. The al-asman b'chol and those objects are tummy b'chol any amount, because you don't. In other words, if something goes over a tumas mace, right? The tumas mace goes all the way to the sky. So anything that's over it, even if it's not an ohel, even if it doesn't become some sort of ohel, right? A tent or something, a roof over it, nevertheless, that is tummy. But anything else, in order, if it's under that object, then it has to be a tefach. So basically, the inaccuracy was that no, we don't say ohel if it's over here if it's the width. The only time you say if it's the width, right, of 1/3 is if he's holding it. But if it's an ohel, that only works if it is a pasech tefach. Amar Rabbi umardu shamru ein ba'avav tefach, and that what you're talking about, the mardeh, as I explained earlier, it's this thickness is not a tefach. V'yesh be'akifa tefach, right? And nevertheless, there is around it a tefach. The gazra ala kefil mishum ava, and therefore they were geyser. They said no, and they didn't want to go ahead. They were concerned that if a person would go over here was only tameh because he was holding it and not because he was under an ohel. So really, he's a rishon latuma. So people might assume that maybe he's an ohel because maybe he was an avatuma, and we see over there that he's only tameh for 1 day and not for 7 days. So therefore, this decree, this gezerah was right. The gazra ala kefil mishum ava. Therefore, they made a gezerah right on their circumference because of the width. In other words, they made a gezerah. Things that are only 1/3 of a tefach thick, for something which is a full tefach, because they might confuse this case and think this guy is an avatuma, and therefore they were geyser in this case that even if it's much thinner, right, nevertheless it would still be mahil over him and make him tummy. So that was the opinion according to not Rabbi Tarfon, right, according to the Chachamim there. So that was another case with Rabbi Tarfon. The Amar Kavech has been, and according to Rabbi Tarfon argued and says, my children, right, the shalacha mikufachas, that this halacha was mistaken. Batzulhu, he does not have this case as the next case. Remember, we had 9, we listed number 10, and now this he doesn't have this as the next case. So Rav Nachman Bari Yitzchak, Ach benois kusim nidos marisusam bobia gazu. So he must hold that which we remember we had the backup yesterday, right? The backup says, oh, what was the case? So he must hold of the case of they were gzeira on any even a child or a baby of the kusim. Then they were also considered to be a nida when it comes to dough if they come in contact. And so therefore, and that was the next case of the 18. Over there, he must hold. He can't hold that number over there of benos kusim. Rather, he must hold like Rav Meir over there that held that there was other halach over there that what was the other halach over there? All right. In other words, that. Let's go back first 1 second. So he said over there, right? Oh, right, because he held initially in our Mishna that there was no machlok, that they never decided that one of the cases in the first 9 in the original Mishnah he brought, and one of those cases was because we had over there that one of those cases was not. They never admitted and came together, and then you had to come to Rameir to add another case. So it must be over there that over there he held that no, that there was Beis Shammai was more than Beis Hillel, and they agreed with him in that case, and that would be the opinion of and that would be like the opinion not like Rameir, that would be like what was that in the Gemara here, and that would be. Right. In other words, who argued with Rameir? Who was it? 1 second. Rabbi Yossi. So it'd be like Rabbi Yossi. Fine. So it comes out that we have this case. So in other words, we had the other cases. We had the original 9. There was one that perhaps was not included in that, and therefore they came on to the backup. Basically, was the gezerah on the benos kusim, and then we had these other 2 cases, and that Rabbi Tarfa, which argued over here. If he doesn't hold this is one of the cases of a gezerah of Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel, then he would say the next one was the benos kusim, and obviously he couldn't have used benos kusim earlier, so therefore he held like the other opinion. Fine. The idach. Now let's go back to the next case. Now it gets easier. Now we get rolling. The idach habayitzer legas. We actually saw this case of machlokes between Hillel and Shammai. So habayitzer legas. One is going ahead and harvesting grapes. Shammai Amir Huksher. Shammai says by the fact that we said normally food has to be moistened in order for that to go ahead and be susceptible to tuma. So it have to have one of the 7 liquids that go ahead and make something susceptible, right? Hakshel tuma. So he says even though over there that the grapes were something that he doesn't want the juice to come out. He doesn't want the juice to come out because he wants to go ahead and make wine. Nevertheless, according to Shammai, it's huksher. For whatever reason, we'll soon see that he wants some of the juices to come out, and therefore that which it wettens the other grapes, it makes it haksha the tuma. And Hillel Aimer lo huksher. Hillel says it's not huksher. And Amalei Hillel Shammai says Hillel Shammai mipnei ma baitzrim b'tahara. What's the reason why? We go when we go ahead and we harvest grapes, we do it with tahara. We only use kalim that are tahor. But when we use olives, then we don't go ahead and necessarily need to use kalim that are tahor, because we hold that basically the olives need to be. You have to go ahead and actively wetten them in order to make the hashla tuma. Sarmalei. Taknitani gozerni tuma afal maseka says no. If you're gonna basically instigate me, you're gonna fight with me. I'm now making them gzera to use tara kalim on grapes, but I'll even force you to also use it on olives. So netzu b'charav the base of medrash. They basically put a sword in the base of medrash, probably figuratively. And Amru, and they said, Anichnas ikane. So whoever wants to go ahead and enter can enter the base medrash. V'hayetze al yetze, and whoever leaves, you can't leave. Right now, whoever comes in, and you can't leave. In other words, we're going to basically get down to the bottom halacha of this case. And that day, this between Hillel and Shammai. Hillel basically was subordinate to Shammai, and he said in like one of the students. It was difficult to Yisrael in the day that Hillel was treated in such manners, like the day that the Chet Egel, the Gazer Shammai, the Hillel, Gazer v'Shammai Hillel loy kiblu minayu. Now, and Hillel and Shammai were geyser on that which was moistened. In other words, if you go ahead and those grapes that were basically moistened from the other grapes, that they hechsher tuma. However, the Talmidim, people were not makabel. But also Talmidayu then comes along base Hillel and base Shammai, and gazer v'kiblu minayu. Then they were geyser. Then everyone was makabel. In my time, what's the reason? So Amar Zira, Amar B'Chanina, Gezerah Shema Yivatzrena B'Kufayis Tameos. So because they might go ahead and use baskets that were tamei. So nichulamandim kli tamei chushav mashkin. This works well according to the opinion who holds that a kli which is tamei can go ahead and make those the liquids chashav, and therefore make it hechshav tuma. Shapir, it works well. Elamandim ein kli matamei chashav mashkin make lamer. But according to the opinion who holds that a kli which is tamei does not make the liquid significant in order to make the food susceptible to tuma. So what do you say then? If you go ahead and use kalim that are pitched, right? You use basically a basket that has tar in it. So therefore, those are sealed baskets. Obviously, sealed baskets, what's the reason why you'd seal a basket? Because you don't want any liquids to come out. So obviously, any liquids that even remain in the basket is considered to be chashuv. And therefore, that would go ahead and moisten, and it would consider to be machshir these the grapes to make it susceptible to tuma. And Rav Amar says different reason gzera mishum ha-noishchos, because the clusters. Because when the clusters are together, you have to squeeze them to pull them apart. So by squeezing them and pulling apart, he actually wants the liquid to go on because he wants to squeeze it to pull apart. He might necessarily not want the liquid, but he wants to squeeze them because he wants to pull it apart. And therefore, some juice will inevitably come out and will moisten the other grapes. And therefore, those are actually the tuma. Rav Nachman Amar Rav Ravua Pamim Shadam Holech LeKarmel LeYada Im Hegia Anapim LeBaitzer Alo. So sometimes a person will go to his field to see if the grapes are ready to go, right? If they're what's it called? If they are fully ripe in order to make grapes. And the Naitel Ashkel Anavim L'Seichto, right? And then he takes one of the clusters of grapes and he squeezes it himself. And then, so when he squeezes it, because he wants to squeeze it to see if it's prime, if it's ready to go, it was shas. And then, therefore, when they come later on to go ahead and harvest it, there's still some liquids out from the time when he purposely went ahead and squeezed it to see the juice. And therefore, in such a case, he did want the liquids, and therefore, that's the reason why the grapes are considered to be tummy. Fine.
Let me see if I understand.
All right, let's
If
see.
the basket
Yeah.
is porous, then
Yeah.
it's not makabel tuma, but if it has a pitch inside
No.
would be
No.
makabel
The
tumah?
point is, what makes the juice? Remember, the juice, in order to make something tame, has to be something that's wanted by the owner. He has to go ahead and basically want it to wetten the food, right? So
Right.
if he's using a basket which is pitched, then it shows that he wants the liquid. So if he wants the liquid, so that liquid touched the food, made the food huchshalatum.
And the fact that he pressed the grape
shows that he wanted
to
come out. Exactly. Right. So this is the next case.
Okay,
Therefore,
now I understand it.
all right. So this was the next case. That's the Gzeira of the 18. Let's go to the next one. Bottom line of the Idach. Right. The Idach. 1 second. All right. So now says right. So the Idach. Now the next case, Amar, turn the pages, Tavi Rishba. So it says Tavi the Rishba, his name was Tavi Rishba, he was like a hunter. Amar Shmuel, name of Shmuel. Af Geduli Truma, so Af Geduli Truma Babiyan Gazer. So also what do? They made a decree, right, on Truma. Right, they made a decree on truma that if you go ahead and you plant truma, right? No, let's say something is already truma, right? You separate it and now it's truma. And you have to go ahead with the kohen. If you go ahead and you plant it in the ground, so what's the halacha there? So he said that which you go ahead and plant is considered to be truma, right? So that they were guys on a day. So my time, what's the reason? So I'm Chanina, Gzeira Mishum Truma Tahira Biyad Yisah. Because normally if you go ahead and you plant something, it's like a new growth, and therefore it's like something new. So what's the reason why they said if you plant truma, that which grows from it continues to be truma? Why? Because what's going to happen with the Yisrael? Yisrael is going to say, I have to go ahead and give this to a Kohen. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and plant it. I'm going to plant it. Now the truma that I was supposed to give the Kohen is no longer truma anymore because it grows from the ground. It's like a new growth. Therefore, it's chulin again. So in order to avoid that, they said, no, if you plant truma, that which grows and sprouts from the truma that you planted is still truma. So Amar Rav says it doesn't make sense. If you're chayshed, if you're concerned that this is how the way Jews go ahead and treat their truma, so right? Why don't we be concerned that they don't give truma in the first place? Since they can give one chita, one kernel of wheat, and say this is my truma because the shmuel right? And like Shmuel holds that, is you can give one small amount for a huge field and it works, right? So according to you, a person's not believable. So Ella, rather different decree. Ella Gzeira Mishum Truma Tmei B'Yad Kohen. Rather will say, no, it's a Truma Tmei B'Yad Kohen, right? What's going to happen? You give Truma to a Kohen, and then he says, also when it comes to Tameh, so he says, what's he going to do, right? He can't eat it. And he says, you know what, I'll go ahead and plant it. And I'll wait till the season comes and I'll plant it. And so therefore he might keep around his truma tameya to plant it. And then what's going to happen? He might come to go ahead and eat it, right? So Dilma, right? So right as Rashi says, right? Rashi mishum truma to be a kohen. Also bechila ubal zara the guz, and he's going to go ahead and plant it. The guzer, and therefore they made a decree. Hey, the shma harishon, right? V'harehi truma tameya the chayshina dilma mashi le'ad zman zriya v'asa l'mecha v'tuma. So therefore, right, tvasa. So therefore,
because it's just sitting around.
Right, it's just sitting around. So therefore, we'll say that even if he plants it, it doesn't alleviate the problem of tuma. It's just like it was as it was in the beginning, and therefore we'll say that he has the same issue. Therefore, by planting it, it's not going to go ahead and make it truma tahira, right, or anything good. So therefore, he won't go ahead and leave it around in order to go ahead and plant it.
But if it weren't for the fact that it was just sitting around, and he might come to eat it,
then
he could actually
plant it, and it would have been something new, right? It would have been something new because we don't want it to sit around. What about the next one? A person is traveling close to Shabbos, and he has his wallet on him, and he has his money, and he doesn't know what to do with it. So now, really, Minatara, the person is allowed to go ahead, as we discussed. You can walk pachos less than $1 amos. So you walk 2 amos, you put it down, you pick it up, you walk at 2 amos, put it down, you keep it, and go so on and so forth. So we don't want to do that. So in order to go ahead and avoid that, right, because a person might come to carry Dalet Amos, we allow you to go ahead and give it to a guy to carry, even though normally a guy is not allowed to carry. But since a person might come to carry a Dalet Amos, therefore there are guys there that better to go ahead and give it to a guy for go ahead and carry your wallet than you to go ahead and attempt to carry it Pachas Dalet Amos over and over. The Idach, what the other case? So Amar Bali Amar Avimi San Vasa. All right, I guess that's his name. Pisan, the Shmeinan, the Yenan, Ubenaseyam, Kulon Miyudches Davarhem. So the bread of Goyim, right? Not Paspalter, but the bread of Goyim and their wines, and their oils and their wines and their daughters are all forbidden because of mixed marriage. In other words, a person might go ahead and eat bread with them, then it might come to go ahead and marry them, or he'll dip oil, he'll use the oil with them, or drink wine with them, or have yichud with their daughters. So all these things were decreed that one should not do it, lest one come to go ahead and marry one. So these are considered one. Now, we just mentioned we had the first 9, okay? Then we had 6, okay? So 9, we had 6. One was the case of yesterday of the of leaving out the kalim regarding the water. Then today we started off with the carrying the thing over the tuma. Then we had the squeezing the grapes. Right, we had Shabbos, right? We had, what are the cases we had? All right, the Truma growing, replanting the Truma, and we also had the last one of the daughters huh? Yeah, so that one. So then the last one is the one of their breads, their wines, their oils, and all that. So that's 6, right? So 6 plus 9 is 15. And then we had the 2 cases from a Mishna. 2 cases from a Mishna was you can't go ahead and take out lice in front of a nair, and you can't go ahead and read by the nair. So that's another 2. So that's 9 plus 8, which is 17. Now, so the Gemara says, and according to, so now the Gemara says that's 17. Henichler Meir is worse well contra Meir, because Meir added the extra case of Benos Kusib. Right. So now the daughters, we say that if they're like a nida, and therefore they touch any dough, it's like a nida touched it. So therefore, there's
what's all that clapping in the background? There's a lot of banging.
By me?
Yeah, no dishes this morning. Use paper. Use paper.
I don't know. Can you hear it? It's distracting or?
Distracting, yeah.
All right. Tell her just wait 5 minutes.
Yep.
All right, anyway, thank you. So now,
you mentioned just before this that they were gozer on the oil, but we know that Bnei Israel did not accept the gezerah on the oil. Only correct. On the wine, the bread and the wine.
Ultimately, you're right. Ultimately, that is correct. But this is part of the Gzeir together. We'll soon say they're actually one is connected to the other. The Gemara is going to ask a little bit on that. Let's see. So this works out according to Rabbi Yaisi, but according to Rabbi Yaisi, it's only 17. It's only 17 because he doesn't have that extra case of the Benos Kusib. So Shivasi Havitz, the Ravacha Barad. No, so he says must be like Ravacha Barad, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Gozer al Pizza Mishum Shmenam. There goes you can't have bread because you might have their oil with them. The al Shmenam, you can't have the oil Mishum Yenam, and you can't have the oil because of having wine with them. Right? Wine is also Yain Nesa. The Gemara says al Pizza Mishum Shmenam. Ma'alum the Shem Pas. You can't have their bread because you might have their oil. What's the difference between why is oil even any worse than bread? Rather, Ela Gozer al Pizza Shmenam Mishum Yenam. Rather, they're made of Gezerah. You can't have their bread and or their oil because of their wine. You can go ahead and have wine with them, and there's additional is of Yain Nesach and Ve'al Yedim. You can't have their wine, Mishum B'Noseyim, because you might go ahead and have Yichud with their daughters, but not B'Noseyim. You can't have Yichud with their daughters, Mishum Davaracher, because of Avodah Zarah. Ve'al Davaracher, Mishum Davaracher. And you can't Davaracher because of Davaracher. What does that mean? My Davaracher. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Gazer Al Tinoik Nachri Shematame Beziva. They were geyser on a tinuk nachri, on a young nachri that he's tame like a zach shaloye tinuk Yisrael ragil esla mishkav zachar, in order that they shouldn't be together, perhaps to avoid mishkav zachar, and therefore they were geyser on any young tinuk of a nachri that will be mishkav zachar. So that if that's the case, so that was the next decrease. If that's the case, you're adding this case of the tinukus. So that's 19 cases. It's 19 decrees, not 18. So Gemara answers. So he says these are happening. So because if you look at, remember we brought that brought 9 cases. So that which we brought 9 cases, right? That which we brought 9 cases. Good. Yeah, I'm good, right? So now, when we brought the original 9, the last 2 cases were almost identical, right? The last 2 cases were food that got touched by liquid and kalim that got touched by liquid if they can passel truma. So therefore, since it's the same thing, food that gets touched by liquid or kalim that gets touched by liquid, that was considered to be one gzeira, and therefore in Kormeir it's not really 19 cases. Those 2 are 1, and therefore it's a total of 18 cases. Fine, that was the case of 18 gzeiras, and now we get on to the next Mishnah.
Mishna.
Our Mishnah. Mishnah says, now hopefully things will get move easier, quicker. Let's see what's going on. So Beis Shammai Oimrim Aint Sharin Diyai V'Simonim V'Karshinin Elo Kadei Sheishru Mibayom. A person cannot go ahead and soak, right, different dyes and inks and fetch, right, unless these have to be soaked in water, which makes them usable, right, which makes them to its product. So they have to be soaked with enough time prior to Shabbos that they're fully soaked. They can't go ahead and basically put it right before Shabbos and have it soaked. This is Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel says no problem. You're allowed to go ahead as long as the work that you do is done before Shabbos. We don't care if it soaks further in water, it's fine. You can't go ahead and put, I guess, a large amount, a big swab of flax, right, inside an oven to go ahead and heat it up, right, in order, I guess, to whiten it, to bleach it. Only that it basically finishes cooking or bleaching while it's still day. And also that the wool, you can't go ahead and dye it prior to Shabbos unless it's fully absorbed, fully soaked prior to Shabbos. Beis Hillel matir. Once again, Beis Hillel is matir. You can't go ahead and put out traps for birds and for fish in order only that they should go ahead and be trapped prior to Shabbos. Beis Hillel matir, and Beis Hillel says it's mutter. It's mutter. You can go ahead and set it even if they might get trapped on Shabbos. It's not a problem, right? He basically calls that according to Beis Shammai, right? He holds that Shvisas Kalim is deraisa, that not only do you have to rest on Shabbos, but also anything that you have, your possessions are also resting on Shabbos, and they can't be doing malacha for you. And Beis Hillel says, no, your Kalim are not, it's not a deraisa, and therefore Shvisas Kalim is not deraisa, and therefore it's okay. Beis Shammai ein meicher the nachri. That you can't sell to a nachri, or you can't go help him load his load. And also you can't go ahead and help him carry, right, that which he's carrying. In other words, only that he basically leaves your property and gets to another area. In other words, we don't want him carrying, you being seed, helping him with the load, and then carrying a while on Shabbos, because it appears that he is basically carrying, doing work for you on Shabbos. Rather, there has to be enough time for him to basically have to take the load that you helped him on and to get to another place. Once again, Beis Hillel says matir. As long as you go ahead and you help him load and you do all this prior to Shabbos, we don't care what he's doing on Shabbos. You can't go ahead and hide to a tanner, right? You can't go ahead.
Why Aint No Cream?
What?
But even before we got to the part where the Jew is helping the Nachri load the whatever it is, why Aint No Cream?
You can't sell to him right before Shabbos because it looks like he's doing your business for Shabbos. Let's see. people that see it, they're not going to realize that perhaps he's buying it from you and it's his now. They're thinking that that which he's carrying, he's doing work for you on Shabbos. That was Beis Shammai's concern.
I have a question. So we know that even if we have an enemy and our enemy's animal is in distress, we have an obligation as a Jew to help that animal, correct?
Okay.
So on Shabbos, if that same, not enemy, but the same goy, whatever, his animal's in distress, but it's going to be carrying or it's going to be working for us, do we still help that animal on Shabbos? Like, I know for a human, of course we would do that, but not an animal, right?
All right, so the halacha comes out. I mean, we'll see later on. Even in terms of if it comes to even the saving the life of a guy is not necessarily permitted on Shabbos. It's exera because if we don't do it, then other issues. But really, to do any sort of malacha, even though there's a commandment to do it during the week, but once it comes for Shabbos, you can't do it for the benefit of a guy, right? Obviously, to go ahead and save a Jewish life, that you're allowed to be mechal Shabbos even for Suffolk, right? But when it comes to doing malacha for to help a guy, then that would not be permitted. Let's just finish out the Mishna. And so Beis Shammai says you can't go ahead and give your hides to a tanner or your clothes, right, to a laundry, to your dry cleaners. Ela kadesh sheyasu mibad yom. In other words, for enough time for them to go ahead and complete whatever work was being done prior to Shabbos. So if it takes, let's say, an hour to go ahead and dry clean, so therefore you have to go ahead and drop off your dry cleaners more than an hour before Shabbos. Beis Hillel says, no, as long as I give it to them right before Shabbos, then it's okay. Whether they do it on Shabbos, that's on them. That's not on me. They're not acting as a shaliach. And Amar Rav Shimon Gamliel says, Rav Shimon Gamliel, the top of the next page, Noagim hayu beis abba shayu noisim kli lov and lechavis nachi shleisha yamin koydem l'Shabbos. He says he used to go at my father's house. They used to go ahead and give their the whites to the cleaners 3 days before, because it would take 3 days to go ahead and fully bleach it. And so therefore they would make sure to give it 3 days before Kodim L'Shabbos. The Shabbat, and everyone agrees, both Beis Hillel and even Beis Shammai in this case, Elu Shetonim Kodesh Beis Avad the Agulei Gas. That when they used to go ahead and press, we'll see the different parts of pressing, but first they would press it, and then they would basically leave like a heavy log on top of it. So that heavy log, even though it was on it on Shabbos and there was some juices coming out, Beis Shammai and certainly Beis Hillel permitted that heavy log to be on it, despite the fact that the log is sort of working for you on Shabbos. We'll soon see why Beis Shammai permitted you to have that log, and of course Beis Hillel, because when Beis Hillel holds, as long as your hands are clean, your kalim can do the malacha. And we'll stop here at the Gemara. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Shkaya.